So I just saw Thor 4, Love and Thunder, and I'm sad to say that it was pretty bad. A lot of people have been saying that the reason this movie's been getting bad reviews is because people are taking it too seriously, which I find to be complete bullshit. I was ready and willing to accept this for what it was, as another dumb, fun Marvel spectacle. And to be fair, I did laugh a few times, but by the time it ended, I was pretty confident that this was one of my least favorite Marvel movies. It feels like Wonder Woman 1984 all over again. An unconventional creative is hired to make something completely out of their element, they manage to bring something unique to the franchise and characters, and then in the sequel they overdo the shtick they did before without recapturing anything that made it work to begin with. I love Taika Waititi's work as both a director and an actor, but he's quickly become a bad omen in my eyes when I see him in anything Hollywood related. It doesn't seem like he cares less necessarily. I think it has more so to do with there being an expectation put upon him, which results in his characters always sounding the same and making the same kinds of jokes, which I don't remember being a problem at all with his indie stuff. This movie does what I like to call Vince Vaughning, meaning the actors will just be allowed to talk and 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 talk, just regurgitating every joke they have in their head until something lands, which is just one of the worst ways to write a comedy. Like I said before, I did laugh a few times, but for every good joke there were 5 others that went on for way too long. I wish I could say everything outside the comedy was at least up to par, but even for Marvel standards, this movie was a mess. So many interesting plot developments were breezed over to the point where I think this would have worked better as a TV show. Firstly, to flesh things out more thoroughly, and secondly because it would have been easier for me to ignore. Remember at the end of Endgame when Thor was shown to join the Guardians of the Galaxy? It was a cool idea. They had plenty of chemistry and similar personal issues they could have worked through together. Well, I hope you got your fill in the first 10 minutes, because we gotta make way for Lady Thor. Because why build upon a concept you established years ago, when you can sloppily reintroduce a character that no one cares about and who you yourselves have made fun of for being boring? At best, I can say that her inclusion in this movie isn't as worthless as someone like America Chavez, but I've never found her and Thor's relationship to ever be engaging, and Natalie Portman's performance here is more awkward than her CGI helmet. Speaking of which, Marvel has been getting a lot of flack recently for how they treat their VFX artists, which isn't surprising to me at all considering how bad Phase 4 has looked so far. They clearly have all the money and manpower they need, but shoot themselves in the foot because they don't give themselves enough time. Gee, it's almost like pumping out 3 TV shows and movies per year doesn't give you enough time to iron out imperfections. The action was fine, I guess, but the only parts that stuck with me were just fragmented moments rather than entire sequences. One last thing I took issue with was the usage of music. I've seen plenty of movies that use the soundtrack to insist emotions the story hasn't earned, but on multiple occasions the soundtrack in this film actively contradicts the tone of the scene. They'll have some sappy music playing in the background implying that you're supposed to be taking the situation seriously, all while the characters are still trying to out-improv each other. It didn't seem like that juxtaposition was supposed to be a joke, it was just distracting and tone-deaf. So overall, this movie didn't work for me. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, even if you're a Marvel fan, especially since Thor Ragnarok is just the better version of this movie anyway. So here's hoping that Taika can take his Marvel check and put it into a more fully realized project.